So this is basically an introduction to Agile methodology. So this is the methodology we are going to follow in our POC sessions. So it is better we get familiarized before we start our POC. Okay. So let's first see. Just give me a second. I'll just change my screen. All right. Let's see what is the agenda. Okay. So we are going to first discuss what is it all about. Why do we have to really care about Agile and different methodologies? And I mean, as far as I know, that most of the participants are basically freshers, right? They don't have any soft. And the intention is I'll try to give a perspective of how to approach Agile so that you can yourself, go and study the concept at a deeper level. Okay. So here in this session, we will introduce only concept at a high level without going into much details. And we will also try to understand what is the difference between Agile philosophy, Agile framework, and so many other things. Okay. And we'll also focus on Scrum, how it works, what are the various things involved in Scrum and things like that. So this is the basic agenda. And you can ask me questions in between if you want, and you can also tell me if I'm going fast or if I'm going very slow. You can just let me know so that we can change the speed accordingly. Okay. So first, let us try to understand the context. Okay. So why we have to really worry about various methodology and what it is talking about and things like that. So basic thing we have to understand is if we to do any activity or any task, right, is actually a challenging thing. From even a very regular mundane, our day-to-day task to any complex task or complex project which you do, it is always going to be very challenging to complete it successfully. So, and main thing we have to understand is to do anything right, there are multiple approaches multiple approaches exist. Okay, so choosing the right approach is what is going to help us complete the task more efficiently and effectively. So this may sound very simple, but if you really think right, most often, even for our day-to-day activities, we end up not doing or not completing it properly, right? That is primarily because we are not, approaching it in a proper method. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Okay, like since you guys don't have a software background, I'll take some non-software examples and explain this. Okay, and also since in this session we are learning Agile, I'll take a learning example. Okay, just to give a context. So let's assume that we are trying to learn a new language. Say, for example, we want to learn Hindi. Okay. So how do you do it? How do you start learning it? What are the things you do? Can someone tell me quickly how do you approach learning a new language, Hindi?
First, you should learn alphabets.
Right. Then?
Simple words with their meanings.
Okay. Then?
Then we have to learn grammar, etc. to form sentence.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yes.
So this is one of the standard approach we do, right? First you learn alphabets, then words, sentences, grammar. Then you start learning songs and all those things, and then you start writing poetry itself, right? Like that you can keep progressing. Is there any alternate way to learn this? Can someone think of any other way? Okay, I'll show you another approach. Okay, alternate approach. See, there are some people who will learn like this. Say in Hindi, right? So they will first learn, listen to some Bollywood song and start singing. They won't understand any meaning, like no words, nothing, not grammar, nothing they will understand. But they will, understand. I mean, they will just sing. Then slowly they will go and learn the words in the song itself. Then they will, speak to native speaker and then understand some basic sentences, right? Even before they learn grammar and formation of sentence and all those, right? Then they may read alphabets. So, and then they may actually come back again after learning the words in the song. They can come back again, sing it in a better way, understand better singing, may make it better, right? And they can enjoy the singing also. Like that, they can keep on iteratively come and then start learning, right? And once you start doing multiple times, incrementally you will start gaining more knowledge in the language, right? So remember the words, okay? Iteratively you do the things and incrementally you learn things, right? So this is an approach, okay? So if you see, what is the difference between these two approaches? Can someone tell me, like?
The standard approach might take some time. The alternate approach, yeah, it will be quite easy to learn. It's in a fast pace.
Right. So see, both approaches, there is nothing called this is the right approach, wrong approach, okay? Both approach has advantages and disadvantages. But what I want you to observe here is, in this standard approach, right, this whole thing is seen as one piece of activity, right? So you will never learn sentence unless you finish learning alphabets and some words, right? And you will never touch grammar before you complete all the three things. And this is called as a monolithic way of seeing things. Monolithic means one piece, whole piece. So you will do the entire thing in one whole piece, okay? But in this approach, what you are doing is you are splitting everything into some independent chunk of things, right? And then you can pick and choose whichever chunk you can do first and then start doing it, okay? So this is not a monolithic, it is a kind of a parallel work you can do. It's like a non-linear way of doing things. This is the alternates. So this is what I want you to understand between these two things, okay? Now, so this is as far as the normal language learning. So since we are want to learn about software development, let's go and see how you apply the same thing in software development also. So in case of software development, there are primarily two different methods or approaches we use. One is called Waterfall model, another one is Agile model, okay? If you look at this diagram, the Waterfall model looks something similar to the standard approach for learning language, which we saw, right? Where the entire thing is considered as one piece. So once you start, so everything the whole piece has to be analyzed, whole piece has to be planned, whole piece has to be designed, and whole piece has to be built, tested, and applied. So this is like monolithic way of doing things. There's another way of doing things is you split that software project into small chunks, independent chunks, right? And then take each chunk and then start doing the same thing: analyze, plan, design, build, and then test. And then take the another independent chunk. It is similar to learning a song, and then iteratively you come back and then incrementally you start adding functionality to the software product. So if you look at the timeline, right? So during this timeline, usually it will take say 6 months or 1 year. Within that time, the requirements might change, the customers may go up, or say they may churn out, technology will change. So all these things will happen during this project, right? So how this will definitely impact the way you are progressing. So how this will impact in both the cases is what is going to determine whether your project is going to be a failure or it is going to be successful. Okay. So ultimately what you guys want, I want you to understand is the waterfall model is more linear, sequential in approach, and agile is more iterative and incremental. So these words you have to remember because this will be used very frequently. Okay. So this is the basic idea I want you to first understand. Now let's go, since we are going to learn more about Agile. So this after this session, we are going to only focus on Agile methodology. Okay. Now, so did anyone try to learn anything in Agile before this session? Because we shared one link, right, where we asked you to go through it and all. So did anyone go through any material related to Agile?
Yeah, Senthil, I was having basic knowledge about Agile. I worked for Agile.
Okay. What about others? Did they even try anybody tried at least looking at the material? No, right? Okay. So yeah, whoever told, right, like who has some experience in Agile, who is that?
Ravikiran, Senthil.
Ravikiran. Okay. Ravikiran, so when you have learned about Agile, right, you would have heard about a lot of things, like Agile framework, Agile philosophy, Agile mindset, Agile values, Scrum, stream programming, so many things you would have seen, right? So are you very clear on those things, or you get lost, or you are not very clear?
No, I'm very clear about that Agile.
Oh, you are very clear about it, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So can you tell me whether Agile and Scrum are same?
I think Agile is a process, Scrum and all. It is like the way we followed in this, like sub-functionalities. Agile is like a whole methodology. Scrum is like how we will achieve Agile by using Scrum.
Okay, fine. So yeah, you are almost there. So let's focus. Let's try to see what is this Agile. Okay. So what I'm going to do, why I ask this question is, what I'm going to do is, since in this session we are only, because Agile is a very big subject, right? We cannot cover everything. So what and moreover, since you guys are new to the software development, I would like to stick to very high level principles only. Okay. So, but what I want to do is, I want to give you a basic idea on how to look at Agile, the basic understanding of the idea itself. So once you grasp that, then you will be able to yourself go and learn Agile, because there are a lot of materials available on net. So you yourself can. So what I have noticed is, anybody who start learning, right? So they get overwhelmed by a lot of terminology, lot of stuff, right? Like as Ravikiran was saying, something is subset of some other thing and things like that, right? So it becomes very difficult for a newcomer to really grasp that ideas. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm going to just explain how to look at Agile with a simple day-to-day example, so that in future you can yourself go to the material and go deeper into understanding. Okay. So if you see this Agile, right, in this slide, so we have to understand that Agile is not a kind of a tool, or it is not a process, or it is not some system or something. Okay, it is more of a philosophy. Okay, it is a philosophy driven by 4 values and 12 principles. Okay, and then comes the frameworks, where in the framework you as you can see there, the Scrum, extreme programming, DSDM, pair programming, ADS, FDD, functional based development. So all these things are framework. Okay, so it may look very confusing. So what I'm going to do is, I'll give you an example of simple example, day-to-day example, so that we can understand each component. Okay, so let's see, you want to become healthier. Okay, so if you want to become healthier, right, what you are supposed to do? Can someone tell?
We need to have
Of
good
course,
food.
we should have a good diet.
Yeah, you should have a
Maybe
proper
do the
diet,
physical exercises.
exercises, right? So, right. So generally what happens is, you would have noticed yourself or in others, they would decide to become healthier, and then they will start dieting, or they may start going for a walking or jogging. Normally what happens is after a week or something, they will fizzle out, they will stop doing everything. They will be back to the regular normal habits, right? So then how to become healthier, right? So healthiness is not some process or something. It is more a philosophy or a mindset you should have. You should have a healthy mindset. Only then you can really become healthier. So that that mindset, right, is actually described by 4 values. I mean, few values. There are a lot of values, but I have just, for example's sake, I have put only few values. Like you have to prevention is better than cure. Nutrition is required instead of fat diets. Regular exercise and keep your muscles active. Progress. I mean, you need not be perfect, but at least consistency and progress is important. So these are some of the values of the healthy mindset, and there are some principles that you need to be followed, right? Like you have to measure your progress, right? Otherwise, you will fizzle out. Regular checkups has to be there, and so many other principles are there. I've just given a few examples. So only if you have all these things like values and principles, you will have a proper healthy mindset. Now, if you know all these things and if you are aware of it and you have all this knowledge of all these values and principles, will you become healthier? No, right? So actually you have to do something to become healthier. So, but you tried doing walking and dieting and all those things, but that also didn't work. So what you need is this values and principles alone is not enough. You need to have a proper ecosystem or a system where you can apply all these values and principles so that you can achieve the result. You can do things, right? So that is called as framework. Framework is nothing but an ecosystem or a system where you can manifest all these values and principles. So in this case, gym is one of the framework, right? So if you go to a good proper gym, right, they will apply all these values. They will have all this principle followed in the gym. They create that ecosystem. Then gym will have all the tools, process, ceremonies, metrics for tracking. All those things will happen in the gym, right? And is gym the only way to apply all this principle? No, you can even in yoga studio is another way of doing things, but it follows the same principle. Similarly, Zumba, right? So these are all different ways of manifesting all these values and principle, right? So you need values and principle, and you also need an ecosystem to manifest that. So only then you can achieve success, right? So something very similar to this. Let's go back to Agile. Similarly, Agile is also a philosophy, like the healthy mindset. It also has around 4 values and it also has 12 principles. And all these things will get done by an ecosystem called Scrum. And similar to gym, similar to yoga studio, there are XP, pair program, other things are there. Okay. So I want you to understand how the whole thing is structured so that when you go back to the material, you won't get lost. Okay. Any questions till now? Okay. Let's proceed then. So I was talking about the Agile values and principles, right? So these are the 4 values. I'm going to skip all these things, okay? Values, principle, and all those things, because you can read it yourself. And in fact, I'm going to follow that language model, Instead of reading words, grammar, and all, I'm going to straight away go and sing a song, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip all this grammar, words, and all those things, and straight away go to framework, which is Scrum. Okay. So Scrum is one of the framework which we widely use. So we are not going to follow, you see this things, right? There are several frameworks, right? So we are going to focus only on Scrum because that is the most widely followed methodology. Okay. And out of your own interest, I would suggest you have to go through other frameworks and understand how it is, because it will be very interesting. So to see other things also. So let's go jump to sprint. Okay. So before going to Scrum, right, I want you to understand another concept. So we saw in Agile, right, like language learning and then Agile, we saw we have to split the work into smaller chunks, and each chunk you will do as a separate activity, right? So that is the one of the principle of Agile, okay, where you do continuous delivery, right? So to achieve that, what you have to do is you have to split your work into smaller chunks. Also, you have to split your timeline also. Say, if you have 6 months, you have to split the timeline into, say, 2 weeks or 1 month, okay? So within that 1 month or 2 weeks, whatever you do, whatever chunk of work you do and complete, right? So that is called as a sprint. So like that, you will do several sprints of work. So which means you will take one chunk of work within that period of time, you will complete it. Okay. So this is called iterative way of doing things. And whenever you do an iterative way, you will incrementally increase the functionalities of your software product. Okay. So if you look at when we discuss about language, two approaches, right? So if you see the second approach was possible only if you are able to split that learning process into multiple chunks, right? If you are not able to split it, what will happen? Can you use that approach?
No, we cannot use.
We cannot
No.
use it, right? Correct. So luckily for in case of language, we were able to, independently sing a song. So we were able to split it. Similarly, if you want to do an agile process, right, you should be able to split the work into multiple chunks, right? So in software development project, if you see, actually you can split your work into independent chunks of work. So before we go to the Scrum, we will first learn how to split your work, software development work, into little chunks. Okay. So let's say you take, let's say we are developing a e-commerce site like Flipkart. Okay. So it's a very big product, right? Like, so how can we split the work, right? So for example, we can split the work into, say, front-end screens, right? There are many screens in that, right? So front-end screens. Then you need a lot of users. So user management is one chunk of work you have to do. Then you will have a lot of products which has to be displayed, right? So product management, product list management, that is one chunk of work. Then you select the product and create a cart, right? And payment systems. So that is one chunk of work. Like that, you can split the work. Okay. So in this, let's say, take another simple example. In this case, in the screen which you see, right? Let's take you are creating a user login. Okay. So if you come to this login, right, you can split it into multiple features. Let's look at stories first before we go to Epic. Stories, you say login and authorization screen is what you want for a login screen, right? Login screen you do not. And then you will need a forgot password screen, right? So within that, say, forgot password screen, you will have several tasks you need to complete this forgot password screen, right? Like you have to design a screen, you have to create error messages, all those things. Like that, you will be there. So several tasks will comprise of stories, and several stories will comprise of epic. So epic here in this example is login screen is the epic. And this will be split into stories. And then each story will be split into several tasks and subtasks. Okay. Similarly, there is another story. For example, user management, right? In this case, they want to migrate users from one system to another system. So that will have only one story, auto migration, and then there will be some. So this is how you can split the work in a software development project. Okay. So that the basic idea you should understand. Okay. So once you split it, what happens? Okay, after you have split every work, how do you manage that list of work? So that is what is called as a product backlog. So after you have splitted everything, right, you will list down all the user stories. Here is a list of things, right? List of items. And you will also sort it based on the priority. Okay. highest priority stories will be in the top and lowest will be on the bottom. Okay. So how do you decide on the priority? It depends. There are several factors involved in that. So based on those factors, they will decide as a team, or some product owner will decide what is the first thing he wants, first feature he wants. Okay. So if you see that list, right, the product items, it will have, as I told you, several user stories, and it will also have some bugs from a previous sprint or something, right? You will have some bugs and some code refactoring activities. And then even if you want to learn something, right, as a team, like if one member has to learn some new technology or something, so that is an activity. Any activity that you do during the project, that should be part of the backlog. So that also, learning is also a task, right? So that task also will be part of the backlog. So this is how you will split the work and list it down as a product backlog. Okay. So till now, what we have understood is you have to, in Agile, you have to do iteratively way. If you want to do iteratively, you should know how to split the work. And we saw how we split the work with an example. And after you split the work, how do you manage those? Like, how do you handle those list of things? You'll put it in a backlog so that it will be easy to manage them. Okay. All right. So any questions so far? All right. Let's straight away jump into Scrum model. Okay. So Scrum, as we saw, it is a framework in which we will have certain ecosystem aspects, which will help apply all the Agile values and principles so that we will be able to complete our project in a more efficient way. Okay. So now let's look at this. Like we saw a product backlog, right? We have created a backlog. Okay. So once you create a backlog, right? So we can we have a list of things we need to do, and let's assume that we have a team of say 5 people, and we are going to have a sprinter in two-week sprint. Okay. So if that is the case, within the 2 week with 5 people in the team, how much work we can do? Based on that, you will pick up the top user stories. Okay, our top user stories are task or whatever is there in the product backlog. You will pick those things and then you will put it into something called as sprint backlog. Okay, the sprint backlog means this is the items which we are going to work on in this particular sprint. Okay, so like this, every sprint you will go back to the product backlog, pick up some tasks, and then start working on it. Right. So this is how the entire sprint Scrum model works. Okay. So I'll just explain you, as I said, like feature to sprint backlog. Now we'll see how it looks like. So this is the backlog, right? So I put an example of there are say n number of stories, user stories. User stories we saw now. So as I told you, backlog we need not have only user stories. It can have other independent tasks, bugs, and other things. So once you have this backlog in sprint 1, let's say you will choose 3 items and complete it. In sprint 2, maybe this user story 4 is a very big chunk of work. So you cannot you can take only one story, okay? Because we have only 5 people and 2 weeks time, right? For sprint 2. So like that, based on your available resource, available time, and size of the user story, you will pick appropriate amount of user stories and use it for every sprint. So that is called a sprint backlog. Okay. Now going back, so we will see this round sprint, right? We'll drill down what is this sprint in detail. If you look at the sprint, right, this particular sprint in 1 or 2 week sprint we assumed, right? In 2 weeks, what is that exactly we'll do? So now that from backlog we have chosen some user stories into which we will work on sprint. And how do you do it? So before you start any sprint, right? Let's assume next week, Wednesday onwards, we are going to start a sprint. Okay. So before Wednesday, on Tuesday or Monday, okay, what we will do is, as a team, we will all sit together, take a product backlog, and we will choose which user stories we will take, okay, to work on next 2 weeks. So that is called as sprint planning. Okay, so Tuesday itself we will plan what we are going to work on from Wednesday onwards for next 2 weeks. So once you have planned it, from Wednesday onwards you will start working on the tasks, user stories and tasks. That is called as implementation. You're doing whatever task that is required. If it is coding, you do coding. If it is a learning activity, you do learning, or whatever it is, right? Bug fixing, you do bug fixing. That is implementation. So while you are doing this for next 2 weeks, right? Every day you will have a Scrum meeting. Okay. What we will do is, in the Scrum meeting, every day we will meet, and then end of the day the next day we will discuss what we did last day. Okay, what we have completed, and then what is the plan for today, what you are going to do. Each individual will tell what I did yesterday, what I'm going to do today. And then they will also tell if there is any obstacles or hurdles in completing their activity. Okay, so that's it. So everybody will tell. So that is the daily Scrum meeting. And then once you start implementing, right, it may take say 10 days or something. Then you will complete all your activities, and then you have to get it reviewed. Okay, and in review, you can do code review and other things, as well as QA activity. You can test. You have to test all the things which you have done, right? So that is called as review. So once you have completed everything, you will again have a review meeting. Okay. So in this review meeting, what we will do is, whatever we have completed, no, we have to demo it. Okay. So one of the principle of Agile is you have to continuously deliver things. So in Waterfall, right, like end of the day, end of the project, you can deliver the product. But in Agile, it is not like that. Every sprint you have to deliver. So that is why when you choose this backlog items, right, the user stories, you have to choose in such a way that you will be able to demo it. Okay. So you will demo to the team internally only, not to others. Internally, you will demo what you have completed, what functionalities you have completed. And then, see, sometimes, most often, many times, what will happen is some of the user story you wouldn't been able to complete it. Okay, or some stories you would have completed and taken additional tasks, something like that, right? So all those things will be discussed on sprint review. So once the sprint review is done, they will release the project. They will go and deploy it into whatever system they want, like a test system or a production or whatever it is. Okay. So after that, there will be one more meeting they will have, which is called sprint retrospective meeting. So in this meeting, it is basically to discuss what went wrong in that sprint. Okay, what are the learnings we learned, so that we will avoid those mistakes in the next sprint, or you can, I mean, if you have learned something new, you can apply it to the next sprint. Also, if there is any changes you want to do, like, in terms of resources or in terms of speed, everything will be discussed and will be taken care of. So that is called as a retrospective meeting. Okay, so this is how one individual sprint will happen. So as soon as this happens, the next sprint will start, right? So next Wednesday it will start. So before that Wednesday, again you will have a planning meeting, and then you start working on same thing will continue. Every 2 weeks, the same thing will continue. This is called sprints. Okay. Any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay. So now that you have understood sprint, right? So we have started singing the song. Now you will again go back and learn some grammar. Okay. So let's see what is something called as framework, right? Scrum framework. What it comprises of? It comprises of 3 components. Okay. One is the people, and then the events that happens, and then the deliverables. What gets delivered in this Scrum? Okay. So if you see, we'll go in detail. We'll see this. See, I'm going to touch base only on very important things at a high level. Okay, so we have to understand all these roles. So I'm going to talk slightly elaborately on roles. Okay, so primarily there are 3 roles that will be there in any agile setup. Okay, one is the product owner. So product owner is somebody who will actually give the requirements, who decides on the requirement. He will be the owner of the backlog items, and he will be the person who can decide on the priority. He will tell which feature he wants first and which he can do it later, right? So so that is the basic product. For example, let's take our own example, like for this POC session, right? Is we are going to run it as a project, right? In this case, Ashok is the one who is running the entire thing, right? He gives the requirement. He's the one who decides what project we are going to work on. And he will, over a period of time, he will tell us, like if he changes his mind, he will come and tell, okay, don't work on this, don't work on this. Like that, he will change his requirement also. And he will decide how fast you want. If you want to speed up, he will add more resources, right? He will like that. So in our case, Ashok is a product owner. Okay. Then let's look at what Scrum Master does. A Scrum Master is one who will be running the entire show. Okay, like as I said, like all the meetings which we saw, no review meeting, planning meeting, and all. He's the one who will run it. Okay, and he will also he's the one who will know a kind of an entire picture of all the work that is going on. Okay, so he will be able to coordinate with everybody, and he will also make sure your whatever goals we are committed to, he will ensure that it is achieved. If there is any hurdles or obstacles that comes in between, he will help to remove those things. Okay, so in our case, POC session, for one of the batches, I'll be acting as a Scrum Master, and Vijit will be acting as a Scrum Master for another one. Okay, so again, theoretically, if you see, right, in the team, anybody can be a Scrum Master. Okay, so in some project they will take turns. Each resource will become a Scrum Master for few sprints. Okay, so actually anybody can. Only thing is they should be very familiar with Agile methodologies, know the entire spectrum of work and things like that. Okay, and then comes the development team. So development team are the actual team members. Cross-functional team members means the team will have developers, QA guys, UX designers, architects, and so many other people, right? So that is the development. So these are the 3 teams people which will be involved in Scrum. Okay, there are other people who will get involved who are called as stakeholders, which we are not going to discuss now because it's slightly out of scope. So if you are interested, you can go and learn about stakeholders. Then let's talk about the artifacts in this. Okay, so artifacts are the items which you deliver. So after you are working on a sprint, you have to produce something, right? So what is that? What are the things you will produce? Okay, so one thing is a product backlog is one of the deliverable, which you can see and look at it. And then the sprint backlog is one of the artifact which will be created, and it's used throughout the sprint. So that is one. And then the product, the actual functionality itself, the product, right? Whatever code you have done or whatever test cases you have written. So that is the actual product increment. And then finally the shippable product, the final compiled final product, right? So these are some of the main artifacts. Okay, so this is what you will deliver. I mean, at the end of the sprint, they will expect people, the product owner and other management people will expect to see what is the deliverable you have done. Okay, so these are the artifacts you have to create. Then let's look at the events, Scrum events. What are the events that happens? So events are sometimes also called as ceremonies. So these are the activities which you do during the sprint. So we saw this thing earlier also, the same slide. So some of the events, one of the event is sprint planning meeting. So this is one of the event. Daily Scrum is an event. And then review meeting is an event. Retrospect is an event, right? And deployment, once you stop, complete the product, you have to deploy it and release the product, right? So that is an event. So these are some of the events. So you should be familiar with all these terminologies, so that when you work, when people ask some of the things, you should be able to understand what it is and provide them the information. Okay. And while doing the sprint in between, right? One of the thing which I want you guys to know about is called a sprint board. Okay, so this is see one of the principle, if you see in the Agile now in the previous slides, one of the principle is to continuously monitor your work and measure it, right? So to satisfy that principle, you have to have a board, right, where we can measure and see how things are progressing. So if you take a sprint, right, we saw there'll be a list of sprint backlog items which you have chosen to work on. So once you start working after the sprint has started after 2 or 3 days, you will have a list of items from the backlog. You will, those which one you have started, you will mark it as it is to do, right? And then which you are already started working on, you will start marking it as in progress. And then which you have put it for review or testing, it will be a review. And once you have completed all these tasks, you will mark it as done. So in any project, sprint project, everybody will start every day. They will start looking at the board. Okay, so it will give a clear picture on who is working on what stage it is, and if there is a looking at this, we will know what action we have to take. Okay, so that's the basic. So this you have to be, once you start working on sprints, this is one thing which you will be dealing with every day. All right. So far, I think we have almost covered everything. So in summary, what we learned is why we have to adopt Agile versus Waterfall, and what is the advantage. It's about flexibility, collaboration, continuous improvement, and things like that. But this is a very big subject. Okay, so more you become, and this is one kind of a subject where more you become experienced, right, more you will understand. So and also we also saw the framework to implement the Agile methodologies, right? Like Scrum, Kanban, XP, we didn't see, but you have to go and read yourself, okay? And then in future, what you are supposed to do is, when we saw that language approach, right? We started singing, and if somebody starts singing and then assume that they have learned the entire language, is it correct? No, right? So they have to go back and keep iteratively read other things, right? Similarly, once you start our POC, so we straight away jumped straight into Scrum, right? We learned about Scrum, and from next week onwards, you will be using Scrum and you will learn more about Scrum. But then that is more like a singing only. So as you gain more experience, you have to keep revisiting Agile Manifesto, all these values and principles, so that you will understand more concepts, and you will get a new meaning itself. Okay, once you start revisiting after some experience. And always remember this one in future also, after 5 years or 10 years, if you are facing any challenges in project execution, or if your project is very stressful, you are not able to handle things, something is wrong with the entire thing, remember to come back to Agile Manifesto and read through it. You will definitely get a solution. Somewhere, some mistake you would be doing, which the principles and values will tell you. So you can go and make that correction. All right. So that's it. That's it about Agile and Scrum. Any questions?
Senthil?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Senthil.
Yeah.
Hello, can you go on to that artifact slide, Senthil? This one. What are the So what my understanding is that the product backlog means what are the user stories we are done in this sprint. That is the thing, no?
No. Product backlog is a constant. I mean, it's a full list of backlog that you will have list of things. Like for example,
Okay.
So if you this is the one source of list. Okay.
Okay.
So once you complete it, let's say you are in fifth sprint. So all the top ones you would have completed. No, you won't remove from the backlog. You will just simply mark it as completed.
Yes, update the status.
Just the update, but you will never remove it. It's just one source of truth. Okay. So this will be maintained all the till the end of the thing. The same list will be made, but this will be a live list. Like in
Yes,
between, you will add more features. You will
yes.
remove it, or you will change the priority and all.
Okay. And this second is sprint backlog and product backlog. Almost the same only, no? But
No. Product backlog. That's what we saw. No, here. The product backlog is the full list of the entire application.
Okay.
All
Got
the
it.
sprint, whatever you take.
Okay. Got it. But here main deliverables is shippable software only. Remaining all automatically it will be updated once we update the things.
Right, but all are equally important. So any point of time, you will need a backlog to refer how things are, right?
Yes.
And again, you have to understand each role, right, will have different objectives and will derive different meaning from every artifact. So as a team member, you will see the entire thing differently. As a product owner, they will see it differently. And I told other stakeholders, right, like somebody who is financing the project, he will totally see the entire process differently. He will need different metrics, different things that he will ask for.
Okay.
So all the artifacts are important from a whole project perspective.
Okay.
But ultimately, as you said, you are right. Like from an agile principle, your shipped product is more important than anything else. So that will tell you everything, how much you have progressed, right?
Yes.
Right. Any other question? All right. If no questions, then we'll wrap up. I'll give it over to Ashok.
Yeah. Senthil, this is such amazing sessions. One of the amazing sessions I have personally attended by any AJSD trainee so far session. Such a clear and neat explanation, well scripted, and the PPT also awesome. Thank you so much for your time in preparing for this session, Senthil. This is absolutely nice.
No problem, Ashok. Yeah, as long as it is useful for everyone, then I'm quite happy.
If you are interested to learn Salesforce, visit AJ Skill Development website. There you can find our course curriculum and you can come to know about the list of courses we are offering. We are offering Salesforce Administrator and Salesforce Development courses. To know about us and the team, you can visit our About Us section. This is an organization we are doing Salesforce training from 2018, and we have trained and guided 2000 plus candidates so far. And if you also want to know about our placement assistance, visit our placement assistance section where you can find the list of people and the category. You can see the list of people who got trained and placed from our side. You can also visit their LinkedIn pages to get to know about our training and also the feedback from the relevant trainees. Okay. And also, if you want to do the course inquiry, click on contact us. You will see the form. You can fill the form and submit the inquiry. Our team will get back to us. Thank you.